Dr. Marina Litvak. She's now a senior lecturer in Shamon College, and she is an expert in different aspects of NLP. And
thank you. Good afternoon to everyone. Which microphone should I use? Thank you. And how do I start? It's already. Okay. Good afternoon to everyone. My name is Marina Litvak. I am going to present a joint project with my colleagues and students from Shamon College of Engineering and Jerusalem College of Technologies. It is about offensive content detection, but the presentation almost doesn't contain offensive content, so kids are allowed. Okay, so our main motivation behind this research was to find a good enough replacement to missing resources for Hebrew. I guess everyone who works with Hebrew knows that it is low resource language, one of low resource languages, and we don't have very much resources. We don't have training data, we don't have very much tools, and so on. So we wanted to explore whether it's possible to use other languages for training somehow accurate, not maybe very accurate, but accurate models for analyzing Hebrew. It is an interesting question in general, but we explored it in our specific task. And actually, we asked ourselves 3 research questions. The first one, whether offensive language detection in Hebrew can benefit from Arabic training data, because Arabic is known very well as rich resource language. And they're pretty similar languages. They belong to the same family. They share similar properties. So we wanted to check whether we can use Arabic training data for training models and then applying them on Hebrew content. And we also wanted to explore whether this effect, if any, also symmetric. I mean that we can use Hebrew training data for analyzing Arabic. And in order to compare between the effect of Semitic languages, say, one to another, we wanted also to compare this effect to the other foreign languages. So we used English as a foreign language for training our models and then comparing their accuracy and the other performance metrics to the Semitic models. Our data sets, each one from one language, were collected mostly by us. Arabic data set we collected in our previous research. It contains 9,000 of tweets. Hebrew data set actually combines the early version of our collection and the collection of from Jerusalem College of Technologies. And now it contains more than 5,000 comments from Facebook. And the English dataset was taken, I think, if I remember correctly, from Kaggle, and it is the biggest one among all 3 datasets. So this is an example of keywords that we used for collecting our data in Hebrew. We collected our data somewhere between last 2 elections. So it explains why last 2 words actually contributed a lot to our data. It was, if I remember correctly, immediately after 4th and right before the 5th elections. If I don't know, I stopped to count at some point. These words are not necessarily offensive, but they just brought us to offensive content. These are examples of keywords in Arabic. The same we can say about these words. And we experimented with different text representation models and also different classifiers. For representation, we took two domain-specific representations, character n-grams and bag of words vectors. Because they are domain-dependent, you can see that the characteristics of the vectors are different in different languages. And the third representation is universal, actually multilingual. It is built by a multilingual BERT. So thanks to the previous speaker, he explains already what is it BERT. So this is a multilingual model. It builds universal vectors for many languages, including Hebrew and Arabic and English. So our pipeline is pretty standard for classification. We built representation models, one of three, and then feed it to the classifier. We tried three traditional machine learning models: random forest, logistic regression, support vector machine, and the one model is actually a transformer, multilingual BERT. So it can be applied on raw text, and it encodes the input, and then feed it to the classification layer. So all traditional models were applied on three different representations, while MBERT was applied on raw text. And our experiments, we separated to three different scenarios. Monolingual learning, where each model was trained and tested on the same language. Cross-lingual learning, where we trained a model on one language and tested on another. And the multilingual learning, where we try to train a joint multilingual model, which then was tested on one of the Semitic languages. So the purpose of monolingual learning was actually twofold. One is just to compare between different representations, different models, just to understand which one works better in general. And the second one was to set up some baseline results in order to compare them later to multilingual and cross-lingual scores. So we hypothesized that we will observe none or insignificant drop in accuracy in models trained in cross-lingual and multilingual settings. Actually, it was our hope. In cross-lingual learning, we used three languages as training languages: Hebrew, Arabic, and English, and just two languages as test languages: Hebrew and Arabic. So hypothesis was that the smaller decline will be observed, smaller decline in performances and in accuracy, will be observed for languages from the same family, meaning for Semitic languages. In multilingual learning, we used a mix of 2 or 3 languages as training, and again, one of Semitic languages as a test, I mean both, but separately. So we train on mix of 2 languages, where one of them is Semitic, Hebrew or Arabic, and also on all 3 languages, and then applied on Hebrew or on Arabic. So what we expected to observe is that models, multilingual models, will produce accuracy which is considered comparable to the accuracy of respective monolingual models. Okay, so the results. I know it's difficult to follow, but I make some conclusions. So first of all, we can observe the superiority. Yes. The superiority of a multilingual BERT in general. I mean, we have some cases, individual cases, where different models won, but in general, we can say that MBERT perform better for all 3 languages. Also, if you compare between different representations, then we can see that n-grams of characters perform better than bag of words and even multilingual BERT vectors. And I think that because we're talking about monolingual experiments, multilingual birth vectors, using them with traditional models was just overkill. Most of their dimensions were redundant. And the best scores we can observe for Arabic, I don't know how to explain it except maybe better quality of this data set. But it's something very consistent. Okay, in cross-lingual results, we observe the following. First of all, Hebrew benefits from Arabic training data in terms of recall. The recall is even better than respective monolingual result. But if you compare between English-trained and the Arabic-trained models, we can see that English-trained models outperform Arabic-trained. It's a typo, Arabic-trained, in most of metrics. Arabic doesn't benefit from training data in Hebrew, actually in any other language. But if we compare between Hebrew-trained and English-trained, Hebrew-trained outperform English-trained. So if we need to choose, we will choose Hebrew for training models for Arabic analysis. In multilingual results, we made the following conclusions. First of all, training Hebrew data enriched by Arabic provides the same almost the same accuracy and even better recall, so we can partially actually prove our hypothesis. And the model trained on 3 languages provided the best precision. It means that it filters out negative samples in the best way. Training Arabic data enriched by English provides the same, almost the same accuracy for for Arabic. And they also best scores in 3 out of 4 metrics. Also, Hebrew enriched model provides best precision. So, despite we cannot maybe in 100% prove our hypothesis, we can see some weak evidence that one language can be helpful for another. So maybe this conclusion can be generalized and can be transferred to other areas. And our data set is, okay, I will skip it. Our data set is available on GitHub. You can use, and the feedbacks are most welcome. And if you have any questions, you can ask now, of course, and then you can write me and my colleagues. Thank you.
One question. Time for one question.
Did you try, because of the morphologically rich languages that you tried, did you try also apply morphology features to the solving the problems, or?
No, because morphological features are language dependent, so I just cannot apply them across languages.
Yeah, but each language has its own morphological analyzer, or?
Not the, okay, yes, but except ONLP tool of Riut Sarfati, I don't know any other tool for Hebrew. For Arabic at all, I'm not. I know that there are a lot of tools, but I do not read Arabic, so it's pretty difficult to apply and to control the quality. So no, I didn't.